How many of you, I want interaction, raise your hands, if you know someone who has been on drugs, struggled with drugs, have had a neighbor, yourself, anybody who has had a drug problem. Now, raise your hand if you know someone who has owned a weapon. Keep them up for a second. Own a weapon illegally. Now, keep them up and let's add to them. Let's keep all the hands up. I want you to look around and look at all the hands in the air. That is almost, I can barely see, but that's almost every person in the room. You can put them down now, thank you. If we're talking about guns and drugs, and those are number 1 and 3 globally for crime, why would we think number 2, which is human trafficking, doesn't exist in our communities? Almost every single person had their hand raised. Now, I'm not going to call you out on this because it's incredibly personal, especially within the church. But almost every person I know, when I get an opportunity to sit down and share openly and honestly and have a deep conversation with them, has at some point willingly looked at pornography. Philip, that was the one part that just nailed me. And that confession moved me deeply. Thank you. That deserves applaud. I heard that start. Thank you. Because so many people like myself will not come to the church because I had pastors who were my regular clients. I had Christians who bought me regularly. Most of my survivors have been impregnated, raped, beaten, something by someone who calls themselves a Christian. The very first thing we have to do is look within ourselves and say, if this is a problem, how can I change it? First, within my own household, within my own church, within my own heart. I was actually raised in a loving Christian home. My parents were incredibly naive. They didn't know what to look for. They didn't know the warning signs when the neighbors began raping me when I was 4. And at 4, I didn't even know it was rape. Because young childhood sexual abuse many times is very gentle. It's not horrific like we see in the movies, where it's bloody and violent. A lot of times it's a game. And it leaves the survivor, this young child, feeling like they did something to deserve it, like it was their fault. Or they didn't tell because they were scared. And so you carry this burden, this shame, this guilt, your whole life, until something removes it from you. And it's not just women, it's men too. I work with male survivors. And almost all of us have that one thing in common, that someone hurt and abused us as a child. And it doesn't have to take years and years of abuse. It can be a one-time, once molestation that can change your life, that opens the doors for later, where you're ready to be exploited. And it doesn't have to be in the form of trafficking. It can be through bad relationships. We open the doors through the sexual abuse. And again, it's everywhere. We have to evaluate what happens in our homes and in our churches.